Hello again from the Sea Forest Waterway in Tokyo for day 2 of the Paralympic Rowing Regatta at Tokyo 2020. 24 hours after we saw our first crews progressing through to the A-finals, today is all about the repechages and a second chance to make the medal races. The heats were all about the winners. Today it's the top 2 boats going through, so expect to see some really competitive racing with Olympic hopes and dreams on the line. It's another hot day in Tokyo, 29 degrees C, humidity at 79%, and a bit of a breeze blowing through. That's been a real feature of the racing at both the Summer Olympic Rowing Regatta and here the Para Rowing Regatta too. Andy Budfish in the commentary box, joined once again by Kat Holloway. Hi there, Kat. Yesterday was dramatic enough, but there's extra jeopardy today, isn't there? At least with the heats, if you can't get through there, you have another chance. Today, if you snooze, you really do lose.
Andy, that's absolutely right. It's the last opportunity to qualify for these medal finals today. Just 2 boats to go through from each of these repechages. So hot racing on our hands today on the Sea Forest Waterway.
Yeah, first up, the PR1 women's single sculls. So, with the top boat, the winner of the heat, only going through, we saw boats streaking out into the distance. Certainly that was the case with Skarstein, the Norwegian favourite in this single sculls boat class for the women. And indeed went on to set that blistering time, 11:11, the Paralympic best time. Little caveat to that is the fact that this is the first Paralympic rowing regatta where boats are racing over 2,000 metres. That's the Olympic distance too. So this is the start list for repechage 1. USA, Brazil, France, Argentina and Japan. So, Hallie Smith in lane 1 from the United States, the current indoor rowing world record holder at the time of 9:18.5. Claudia Sabino of Brazil, part of the elite group of rowers who's raced at every Paralympic rowing regatta. Natalie Benoit of France, outside shout for a medal for Natalie, and is returning to the fray after a big long sabbatical through the 2010s. Brenda Sardon from Argentina gained her place in Tokyo after winning the Americas qualifying regatta. And in lane 5, the big local hope, it's Ichikawa Tomomi. She won a head-to-head duel with Samith Donna of Sri Lanka to get a berth for Japan in the PR1 women's singles. So 5 boats in the race here, the first of 2 repechages, and we're going to be seeing the top 2 making the A final. The remaining crews go into the B final. Everyone gets a placing here in this Tokyo 2020 Paralympic rowing regatta. 48 crews competing here in Tokyo, 12 in each boat class. 4 medal events, PR1 men's and women's singles, PR2 mixed double sculls, and the PR3 mixed coxed fours. And it's the women getting us underway here on the second morning's racing at Tokyo 2020 and the Paralympic rowing regatta. We are underway there in the first repechage race in the PR1 women's single sculls. It is Smith of the United States over there in lane 1, Sabino of Brazil in lane 2, Benoit of France in lane 3, Sardon in 4 and Ichikawa in lane 5.
So the athletes are moving through this red buoyed zone at the start of the race. That's the first 250 metres. They use this part of the race to get the boat up to speed. It's a sprint out of the blocks before they settle into their race pace. So Natalie Benoit taking the stroke rate up to 46 strokes a minute, and she's beginning to settle down now into the race rhythm, around 40 strokes a minute at this stage of the race.
So just as a marker then, as we see that fabulous drone shot looking down the course towards the finish line with the 700 bridge there just disappearing out of shot at the top of your screen. 11 minutes 11 seconds, that is the Paralympic best time. It was set by this particular boat class's big gold medal favourite Birgit Skarstein of Norway. That was in the heats yesterday. She won that. Benoit second to Skarstein in the heat with 11.41. So we expect her to get through as one of the top two finishers here. Benoit rowing with the French woman, and she has a very impressive story, as well as all the medals down the years, including the return to competitive rowing with a medal at the Europeans last year. She rowed from Paris to the south of France using the canals and waterways of that country. What a challenge that was.
Yeah, Andy, it's a mental challenge, a physical challenge, and testament really to the grit and determination of this athlete. 1,000 kilometres from Paris to Lyon, and this is what she did in her time away from the rowing sport. She got into wheelchair marathons as well during that time, and that was after she picked up the silver medal at the Paralympics in London. And she came back to the sport in 2019. And she talks about wanting to get back into the routine of training as a professional athlete, having something to get up for, having that structure of a training programme. And she came back into the sport for that 2019 season. And it really went well for her coming back to fitness. She had some doubts about this new Paralympic distance, 2,000 metres. For her, it's a reasonably long distance. Her condition, multiple sclerosis, means that those longer distances are difficult for her. But she's proving that the fitness gains she's made over the last couple of years are really translating well onto the water.
Yeah, 2:35.18 is the time of Benoit at the quarter race distance mark. That's 9.50 ahead of the Brazilian Sabino, who in turn has a big advantage there, about 8 seconds over Sardon, the Argentine. So it's Benoit, it's Sabino, it's France and Brazil. Those two great sporting nations out in front, 1 and 2 here, and looking set fair to get through to the A final. Now then, Claudia Sabino, one of this select band of para rowers to have competed in every Paralympic Games since rowing was introduced to the Paralympic schedule in 2008 in Beijing. He made her international debut the year before, winning her first gold medal at the Adaptive World Championships before the language around para rowing was changed. Made the A final at the last 3 Paralympics and has medals from both the Adaptive Championships in 2010 and the 2013 Worlds. But we're back here with Benoit. He was second only to Skarstein in that heat, and she has the field beaten here. Terrific start, terrific first 1,000 metres from Benoit of France.
I really enjoy watching Benoit scull. It's a hypnotic rhythm from her. She picks up the water really nicely at the front end of the stroke and then drives it through. Really good technical rowing. She's in the Paralympic programme under Charles Delval. He's the head coach of that French programme, and really nice technical rowing coming from this French sculler. And we start to see here the gaps forming back to the second place sculler, Sabino from Brazil, also moving very well. She's got her arms stretched out long at the catch to make her stroke length as long as possible.
Yeah, big lead then for Natalie Benoit, the silver medalist from London in 2012. She was beaten on the Eton-Dorney Lake that year by Alla Lysenko of the Ukraine, and Ukraine have a boat already qualified for the final directly from the heats. More of that little story, that little narrative that developed over the course of the last 24 hours here in Tokyo a little later. At halfway here in this first repechage in the PR1 women's singles, it is Benoit way out ahead of Sabino, the Brazilian, 5:19.60, and she's upped the advantage, she's upped the lead to nearly 17 seconds over Sabino. But the 44-year-old from Brazil will be okay with that. As long as she gets the boat through to the A final, she'll be happy.
Looking at the conditions here on Sea Forest Waterway this morning, a little bit different to that from yesterday during the heats. Yesterday there was a bit of a cross headwind and the athletes had the challenge of staying in the centre of the lane and navigating straight down the course. That wind coming from the side can blow the boats off course, and we're not seeing such a challenge from the wind at this point today. The conditions just a little bit calmer here at the Sea Forest Waterway.
Yeah, I think the wind will pick up the deeper we get into the morning session here. We're just shy of 9:40 AM local time. Been a very hot summer again in this part of Japan. A spectacular rowing venue as well at the Sea Forest Waterway course, just on the shores of Tokyo Bay. And we're riding with our race leader, Nathalie Benoit of France.
It's a lovely shot here from low down on the water and back alongside. You can see the setup in the boat, those floats on the riggers where the oars join onto the boat. That's for stability in the boat to prevent the boat from capsizing. And the little blue computer just in front of Benoit, that's to show her the number of strokes she's doing per minute and also the speed of the boat. Gives her an idea of how she's performing on the way down the course.
Yeah, nice and smooth and holding the middle part of the lane. It's a feature of the rowing on the opening morning, wasn't it, Kat? There was a cross wind which was pushing the boats across to the right-hand side of the lane. We almost saw a couple of collisions with the boys. Fortunately, the rowers were able to adjust and adapt and get straight again. I just wonder if that might be a feature a little later in the morning. But in complete control of the boat and the conditions at the moment is Benoit of France. It's 1,500 metres at 8 minutes 7.47, and she's all set here to win this repechage and qualify for the A final in the PR1 women's singles. 22.30 now is the gap down to Brazil's Sabino.
So this is the point of the race, 1,500 metres in, where the lactic acid is really burning in the muscles. So Benoit can see she's got a commanding lead at this point. It gives her a choice. Does she practice the sprint to the line, or does she ease off a little bit and just take that qualifying slot for the A final? She's got space to make that decision depending on how she's feeling in these conditions.
Third best in this repechage, that's Sardon of Argentina, and then it's Hallie Smith from the United States. Ishikawa, the home hope, I'm afraid, will not be going through to the A final to represent Japan and give the host nation a shot at a medal. You're watching boats 1 and 2 in this repechage. Benoit of France, Sabino of Brazil. Rowing at just over 10 kilometres an hour at the moment. Benoit's just up the stroke rate to 34. It's actually Sardon that's at 35 with the highest stroke rate. She looks to close the gap to Sabino of Brazil, but too much to do there, I'm afraid, for Sardon. Benoit bringing the boat home for France. Now she'll be hopeful of getting amongst the medals again here. Has that silver from London. It's one of only two, I beg your pardon, three medals that the French have won in para rowing at the Paralympic Games. Pelbouge, Stéphane Tardieu. They got a silver in London in the mixed double, and then a bronze 5 years ago in Rio de Janeiro. There will be a medal challenge, surely, for France by Nathalie Benoit, who qualifies for the A final as this first repechage winner in a time of 10.56.23. So that's a new Paralympic best time. Of course, the little caveat to that, again, I'll repeat it, is the fact that this is the first Paralympic regatta where boats are racing over 2,000 metres. Sabino comes in second, she qualifies, so Brazil will have a boat in the final of the PR1 women's singles. Job done for Sabino. Sardon coming in next for Argentina. The regatta isn't over for the scullers here, who are unable to get into the A final. The remaining athletes will drop into the B final, and there'll be a chance to try and get 7th place. And it's Hallie Smith, 4th place in this repechage for Hallie Smith of the United States. Ishikawa bringing up the rear, but 10.56.23, a new Paralympic best time set by Nathalie Benoit. Clear and comfortable victor here in the first repechage in the women's singles. Sabino, the Paralympic veteran, she will go again and try to be competitive in the A final here in Tokyo. Brenda Sardon in 12.01.15, 3rd place. So she's got a chance of being top of the field in the B final.
She's content with that. We saw her give a thumbs up there, Brenda Sardon. She looks to be happy with her row.
Very impressive athlete, Nathalie Benoit. And after that long break from the sport, you were unable to tell if you didn't know any better. Came straight back in and won that medal at the Europeans. And a bit of dialogue with the coach there, Coach Charles Delval. Hit the front early and it never relinquished it, did she?
No, it was a well-executed race here from Nathalie Benoit.
Pushed away from Sabino, held the lead, and just watched the field fan out in front of it. I suppose from that point on, when you know you're not in a drag race, really, it's all about remembering the process, not doing anything silly, just keeping it all nice, controlled, contained. Benoit able to do it.
One of the things that's nice to see from that shot, if you look down the loom of the oar, there's a little white bit of tape quite close to the spoon. And I'm happy to see international athletes using that. It's something that's used in rowing training to show the depth of the oar during racing. And even the athletes here at the very top of the sport are using these same techniques that we see used in schools, in universities, in rowing clubs around the world. It's that little white piece of tape on the oar just lets the coach see, and the athlete as well, how deep the spoon is in the water during the drive phase of the stroke. So Natalie Benoit getting out of the boat here. We get a little look in there of the fixed seat and how that works. There's some foam blocks that give stability to Benoit during the race, and then the strapping also providing that stability around the lower trunk. And you see the imprints on her legs there. It's the tight strap to keep her in the boat.
Natalie Benoit setting a new Paralympic best time then of 10.56.23 in winning the first repechage in the PR1 women's single sculls. She'll be joined in the A final by Claudia Cicero Sabino. PR1 women's single sculls, repechage 2 now. And we have Moran Samuel in this second repechage, the bronze medalist from Rio 5 years ago. Now then, she won the heat 24 hours ago, but has since been relegated to last in that heat due to having a seat back that was judged to be an equipment innovation that fell foul of fixed seat requirements. So Samuel goes in lane 1 here. Kenya, Germany, Korea and Belarus thereafter.
From this shot, we get a view of the starting tower just in the centre of the course there. There's an umpire at the top there who is responsible for the athletes' start, calling the names over. And there's a big clock on that tower as well to show the athletes how long it is until the start of the race.
So there's Moran Samuel, 39 years of age, third place in Rio 5 years ago. Former member of the Israeli Air Force, not quite court-martialed with that a problem with a seat back, but she goes again and will be the favourite in this repechage. Sururu of Kenya in lane 2, Sylvia Pilot Stepat from Germany. She goes in lane 3. Kim Sejong from Korea goes in lane 4. And in 5, it's Ludmila Vauchuk from Belarus. Former national champion middle distance runner Vauchuk. They're all formidable athletes, but only 2 can go through to the A final. The remaining crews will drop into the B final. And Samuel in lane 1, Pilla Stepat in lane 3 from Israel and Germany respectively will be surely the favourites here. We're all set then, and we're off in the second repechage in the PR1 women's single sculls. 5-boat race, top 2 go into the A final, the remaining crews drop into the B final. It's Samuel of Israel, top of your shot there in lane 1, Sururu of Kenya in lane 2, Pilestepat of Germany there, who we're riding with in lane 3, Kim of Korea in 4, and Wojciech of Belarus in 5. Well, Moran Samuel, she wasn't expecting to be in this repechage, was she?
No, she wasn't. Taking that win yesterday in the heat, the immediate verdict after the race was that she would proceed directly to the A final. And then later on yesterday afternoon, the Rowing International Federation had a hearing about the equipment in her boat, and it's clear to me, looking at the picture in front of us now, that there is a difference in terms of how Samuel's boat is set up today relative to how it was yesterday. So the issue that was discussed yesterday and that has since changed is this fixed seat. So it's the structure that's supporting Samuel's lower back. So yesterday we saw that there was some movement in that part of the seat, and it wasn't something I noticed during the racing, but having gone back to it after the verdict that she would be relegated, I could see there was some movement in that seat, and it did not adhere to the current rules in Paralympic rowing that it must be a fixed seat. And so the Israeli team were given the chance for Samuel to row again in this repechage, with the caveat that they had to change that seat so it really is fixed. And we can see from the pictures this morning that those changes have been made, and Samuel here at the head of the field again, Andy.
Yeah, she really is on the right hand side of the shot there as we look down the course towards the finish line. Samuel of Israel, followed by Pilestepat of Germany in lane 3, and then to her left as we look at it, it's Kim of Korea, not being cut adrift quite yet, but Samuel, despite that adjustment to the boat, is threatening to push away again. A 39-year-old's always one of the favourites for a medal here at the Tokyo Regatta. 500-metre mark then, and 2:29.38 is Moran Samuel's time. Stroke rate of 31 strokes a minute. 6:72 is the lead opened up of Pilestepat of Germany, and then Kim is being cut adrift, in fairness now, just after 500. You're looking at our likely qualifiers for the A final from Israel and Germany. Still a long way to go though, anything can happen as they pass under the bridge, which is located around 700 metres from the start line. Just dropping into view there, the back of the shot, that's the famous gate bridge that connects the two sides of Tokyo Bay. Spectacular structure looming in the background of this regatta course at the Tokyo Summer Olympics and the Tokyo Summer Paralympics.
Up again for the A final here, and Samuel can be pretty confident at this stage that she's in with a shot of getting one of these two qualifying places. She's using this really long technique, just 27 strokes a minute, so it's not a high rating technique, but she's very long through the water, stretching the body forwards, getting as much reach as she can, and then letting that flow onto the next stroke. It's a very smooth style, very graceful from the Israeli sculler. And here Pilestepat, what an athlete. She's 53 years of age. She used to be a marathon runner, and she won the Hamburg Marathon twice, back in 98, 2002. And then she suffered from spastic paraparesis. It's a disorder that causes gradual weakness and muscle spasms in the legs. And with that, she made the move into rowing. She had to look for a new sport, and she says rowing has given her new opportunities and a feeling of freedom. So Pilish Stepat just out of shot on the right-hand side, currently in second place and looking for one of these qualifying slots. So there in the centre of the pitch, the yellow boat, Sylvia Pilish Stepat, currently riding in one of these qualifying slots for the A final.
Yeah, the 1,000-metre mark then, that's halfway in the race. Samuel at 5:07.09. That's just shy of 10.5 seconds ahead of Pilish Stepat. And then comes Kim of Korea, 21 seconds down on Samuel. So it was a first Paralympic rowing regatta appearance in London at Eton Dorney for Samuel. She was 5th in the gold medal race there. That was in the days when they raced half the distance they're doing here. These para rowers, adaptive rowing was the term in those days, wasn't it? And then she progressed to Rio, did Samuel, was 3rd there, won the bronze behind Wang Li, the silver medalist. Rachel Morris of Great Britain won the gold medal 5 years ago on Lagoa de Freitas in Rio de Janeiro.
Samuel leading this race, and she's taken the stroke rate down to 26 strokes a minute now, so this isn't her full race pace. She's just using her technique, using her physiology to move the boat along at the front of this race, but she's not going full gas at this stage.
In that opening repechage race, a new Paralympic best time was set by Nathalie Benoit of France, 10.56.23, and that was some 15 seconds quicker than Skarstein, the big gold medal favourite in this class, PR1 women's single sculls. Norwegian set that time in the opening heat 24 hours ago. But that's not the priority here. It's just finishing inside the top 2 positions to qualify the boat for the A final. And Samuel is all set to do that. She comes up to the 1500 marker, still streets ahead of the opposition. 229.38.507.09, 7.49.35 there at the 1500 marker.
We saw that looking at the number 1 on the bow of the boat there for Samuel, and just next to that number there's a small radio transmitter that is the GPS for the boats. It tracks them down the course, it sends the information back to us here for our stream, and also provides these times as the athletes go through intermediate timing points.
Well, the boats from Israel and Germany who got out, tried to establish clear water early on in this repechage, and that's been the way it's panned out. No challenge from Kim, who is 27 seconds down on Samuel, our race leader.
Pilish Stepat here using very different technique to Samuel. Samuel here with these long, smooth strokes, not so many strokes a minute. Pilish Stepat, on the other hand, much higher stroke rate and keeping the spoons of the blade square during the stroke. Samuel at a comfortable 25 strokes a minute as she approaches the last 250 metres into this red buoyed zone of the course.
Easy does it through the last 250 for Moran Samuel. So she had to race again. Wouldn't have been expecting it, but no problem. in this repechage for the 39-year-old Israeli. World Championship silver medals in 2017 and 18. And then a 6th World Championship medal, taking bronze in 2019 in Linz. Silver from the Euros a little earlier this season in Varese. One of the favourites for a medal, one of the challengers for Scarstein. And has comfortably won this second repechage in the PR1 women's singles. Moran Samuel of Israel coming through to qualify. The German boat for the A final 2 is Pilla Steppat also. Nice controlled scull from her as well, the 53-year-old from Germany. So, race winner, impressively. 10.33 as well, so we've got another Paralympic best time set. Repechage 2 winner from Israel. It's Moran Samuel. Well, with other athletes breathing hard, she looks very controlled, doesn't she? Great energy. And that's a fantastic performance again from Pilla Steppat at 53 years young. 10.49. She's come through in second place. Barely broken a sweat, has she? Tremendous athlete. Dvorchuk and Sururu coming over the line. Asa Sururu there, bringing up the rear. But it's magical Moran Samuel. Nonplussed at it all. So the heat winner from day one in the regatta, whose boat fell foul of the regulators. Issue with the seat back, which has been corrected, adapted, and
I pushed and I felt it when it was lighter.
Improved.
Hey, do you have sound on that?
So that's Sururu, the 29-year-old Kenyan.
All the secrets for later.
Finally we get a thumbs up. Yeah. 2 races, 2 victories.
Kisses for my wife and children.
Here in Tokyo.
And my parents, I love you. All my family, thank you for everybody in Israel. You are the best.
Well, that's nice. A little dedication there to wife Limor Samuel Goldberg, who has worked for the Paralympic Committee of Israel. And her children's son Arad and daughter Rom. They'll be loving this and looking forward to a real hard challenge for a medal in the A final in 24 hours time. 2 days, 2 races, 2 stints out on the water, and 2 victories for Moran Samuel of Israel. Well, racing in lane 1, she was always going to be the favourite here. The challenge from Germany's Pilla Steppat. In the end, Pilla Steppat wasn't quite as near to the Israeli as we thought she might have been. Went off quickly at the start, actually, Sylvia Pilla Steppat, but Samuel was soon into the flow and soon into a rhythm and soon eating up the field. A very impressive victory, and a very impressive time as well. Can she take down Scarstein come the A final? So we have our final qualifiers then for the gold medal race. Birgit Scarstein and Anna Sheremet went through from the heats. Benoit and Sabino, France and Brazil, won that first, or were 1 and 2 rather, in that first repechage. Samuel, winner of the second repechage, and Pilla Stepat in second place. So the A final will consist of boats from Norway, Ukraine, France, Brazil, Israel and Germany. Moran Samuel setting a new Paralympic best time in the PR1 women's singles there in 10:33.34. Will she be able to chase down Scarstein in the final? Only time will tell. So the 4 boats through from the repechage then to join Scarstein and Sheremet in the A final, the gold medal race. The remaining crews into the B final. Kim, Sardon, Smith, Wojciuk, Ichikawa, Tomomi and Sururu. So now this is the search to find the final qualifiers for the A final, the gold medal race in the PR1 men's single sculls. To 5-boat repechage coming up here on the Sea Forest Waterway. Roman Polyansky, the big gold medal favourite, of course he is. He's the world best time holder from Linz in 2019. A 9.56. He set the Paralympic best time in the PR1 men's singles over 2,000 metres 24 hours ago here in Tokyo. So it's Mexico, Nigeria, Australia, Israel and Germany. Watch out for Eric Horry in lane 3. He was stunned by the Brazilian in the heats, but he will be the big favourite here to get a berth in the final. So Michel Munoz Malagon of Mexico, he goes in lane 1.
Lane 2 for Nigeria.
It's the Nigerian Kingsley Ijoma who goes in lane 2.
Lane 3 for Australia.
Now then, Eric Horry, the 5-time world champion, stunned in the heats. He goes for Australia.
Lane 4 for
Shmuel
Shmuel
Daniel from Israel in lane 4. Marcus Klemp from Germany in lane 5. Top 2 boats go into the A final. Remaining crews drop into the B final here at the Tokyo Paralympic Rowing Regatta 2020. And we're underway then in the opening repechage here in the PR1 men's single sculls. In lane 1, it's Munoz Malagon of Mexico. In lane 2, from Nigeria, Ijoma. Hori of Australia, watch out for him in lane 3 in the middle of your picture. Off quickly as well. Shmuel Daniel from Israel in lane 4. And at the left-hand side of your picture there, Klemp from Germany in lane 5. There's a challenge coming in though on Eric Hori from Shmuel Daniel. But that was one of the big stories of day 1 in this regatta, wasn't it, Kat? Hori being taken by the Brazilian.
Yeah, it looked something like this, didn't it, in the early stages in the heat yesterday. Hori and the Brazilian side by side, and Campos Pereira really making a showing yesterday in that heat to take the win and the qualifying slot for the A final. So here the repechage and another 2 qualifying slots up for grabs in that A final. Really great start here from both of these scullers, from the Australian Eric Hori at the top of the picture, the Israeli with the number 4 on the bow of his boat, Shmuel Daniel.
Yeah, terrific start from Daniel. Just a reminder about the various classifications. This is the PR1 men's single sculls, representing the class with the highest level of impairment. Athletes in this class have minimal or no trunk function and apply force predominantly using the arms and shoulders only. Rowers use strapping around their midsection to provide support and stability in the boat. Well, that man there has got so much experience in the boat. One of the most experienced athletes in the field, 41-year-old Hori, a 5-time world champion, competing at his 3rd Paralympics. Has a couple of silver medals. Took up rowing 10 years ago now, Hori. He was a 2nd place finisher, the silver medalist in both London and Rio. And he wants to lift himself up on the podium, to the top spot of the podium, to get the better of Polyansky from Ukraine. And that is the challenge for all the athletes in this boat class. 2:13.74 the time at 500 metres for Hori. But Daniel is inside a 2nd there. This is going to be a right old battle for 1st place in this repechage. Klemp, the next best from Germany, 9 seconds back.
Eric Hori here leading this race. He talks about just how proud he is to put on the green and gold for Australia every time he races. He hears the starter call his country, Australia, and he still feels this huge sense of pride to be part of the national team. Outside of rowing, he's a youth worker, and he also supports Lifeline. The Australian Institute of Sport has a community programme, and Eric Hori is a Lifeline community custodian, so raising awareness of mental health issues in Australia and this particular hotline for suicide prevention. So he's doing fantastic work outside of the sport, sharing the difficult times he's had and how he's changed his training regime and his attitude to the sport to improve his mental health. Real inspiration.
Yeah, certainly is. And he's our race leader here in the 1st repechage in the PR1 men's single sculls. Opening up a lead now over Shmuel Daniel, the 36-year-old Israeli, who's only been a Paralympic rowing athlete for 4 years or so. Daniel there on the right-hand side of your shot in the Israeli boat, finished in the C final in the Worlds in 2017 and 2018. Upped his level in 2019, 4th at the 3rd World Cup event, and then got a spot in the A final at the World Champs in Linz. And he was at the European Championships earlier this year in Varese. Made the A final, just missed out on a podium place. But he'll be happy to make the A final here. And well, once you're in there, anything can happen, can't it? You get everything right on race day, someone else has an off day, and you never know. Hori and Daniel, 1 and 2 then in this repechage at the mid-race point, 1,000 metres. And Hori's opened up a bit more of a lead now. Best part of 3 seconds he has on the Israeli. Klemp in third place for Germany, and then it's Munoz Malagon from Mexico in fourth.
To the right of the picture, the Israeli sculler, Shmuel Daniel. A real dynamic style. It's almost a bouncy rhythm coming from him. 35 strokes a minute. He's taken that down now. It was around 38 strokes a minute in the first half of the race. These two scullers at the head of the field, Hori, and in the background we see the Nigerian Ijoma. He's in fifth place right now. Looks like he's set to go through to the B final, but this man, Eric Hori, leading the way, must feel some confidence at this stage for his slot in the medal final.
Yeah, far better day at the office than in the heats for Hori. Interesting to see those tactics, isn't it, in the heats, where it's just that winning boat going through. He sort of had a real battle. He had a tussle with Rene Campos Pereira at the start of the second half of that heat. He decided to sort of let it go, didn't he, and just row himself down to the finish nice and easy. Knew that there was only that one spot that guaranteed a place in the final. Resigned himself to not getting it, so he's been thinking about this repechage race since just before the finish line of the heat, as Eric Hori. Seems to have got it right today, though, into his rhythm, into his groove. Nothing silly, and no stunning challenge forthcoming in this particular race yet. $1,500-metre mark about to be hit here. 3/4 race distance. 6:58, and that's 3 1/3 of a second better than Daniel with 500 metres to go. Klemp holding on to third, so he's set fair to drop into the B final here in Tokyo. And neither Australia or Israel have had a gold medalist in the men's single. Tom Agger of Great Britain won the gold medal in the men's single class, again over half race distance to what we're seeing now. That was in Beijing in 2008. Then Eaton Dorney 2012, it was Shen Huang of China beating Hori, and it was Polyansky getting the better of Hori 5 years ago on Lagoa de Freitas in Rio de Janeiro. But Israel have had a medalist in the men's singles. It was Eli Nawi in that Beijing race 13 years ago. Can Hori get past Polyansky? That's the big challenge. That's one of the big stories coming into this Tokyo Paralympic rowing regatta. Fastest boat in the race at present, Hori at 12.2 kilometres an hour. Stroke rate 32 strokes a minute. Daniel's just upped it to 35. Boat speed a little down on Hori's 2. Through the red buoys now, the final 250 metres of this race. It's Eric Hori and it's Shmuel Daniel from Australia and Israel respectively, going through to the A final. Hori, he was in a hurry here, wasn't he? He's won this repechage, and after the disappointment of the heats, no bother this time round for the 5-time world champion Eric Hori, who wins the PR1 men's single sculls repechage 1 here. Klemp, Munoz Malagon and Ijoma coming in 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. 9:20.61. So Hori has a new Paralympic best time to boot. So we're seeing our finishers further down the order. Shmuel Daniel has his boat in the A final. 9:28.78. 8 seconds behind Horry. So, good session for Israel with Moran Samuel. They're getting through in the women's event.
Thumbs up from Eric Horry there.
Yeah, job done. And that's Ijoma coming over the line for Nigeria. Last up, the 39-year-old. Just the final finisher in this first repechage. And the men's singles.
At the top, like really strong. Come out at sort of the 250, and you really feel it hit the cross coming across the thing.
Oh, interesting to hear Horry here talking about the conditions out there. He's talking about the crosswind to his coach there as he gets out of the boat, just saying after 250 metres he could feel the crosswind hitting him, moving across the lane. He's coped well with that, taking the win here ahead of Shmuel Daniel from Israel.
Yeah, believe in the process, the results will come.
Hey everyone at home.
That's Horry's personal philosophy.
I'll see you tomorrow in the final.
Indeed he will. Yeah, he's put that disappointment of the opening day firmly behind him. That's in the bin now. It's all about the A final. Eric Horry. And right from the get-go, really, this was all about Eric Horry and Shmuel Daniel, really, wasn't it? Well, Daniel can see the field ahead of him. Knew what was required, just finish inside the top two. And then maybe adjust the process, talk about where you can pick up a little bit of speed ahead of the final. Just get in that final. That's the bare minimum. Repechage 1 winner then, Eric Horry. Phenomenal haul of medals at the World Champs. 7 in all. Pair of bronzes, but those 5 gold medals. Been winning golds at World Champs since Chengdu in 2013. But of course, he'll want to upgrade his Olympic silver medal performance from both the 2012 and 2016. 9:20.61. It's a Paralympic best time in the PR1 men's single sculls for Eric Horry of Australia, Repechage 1 winner. So we're going to see the second repechage now in the PR1 men's single sculls as we look for another 2 qualifiers, the last 2 qualifiers indeed, for the gold medal race, which is scheduled for 24 hours from now on the Sea Forest Waterway course here in Tokyo. Favourites here, well, let's look at lane 3, and from Great Britain, Ben Pritchard, the youngest athlete in the field. We've got Chivashev of the Russian Paralympic Committee in lane 2. Also boats from Sri Lanka and the United States, and in lane 4, Rea Munoz of Spain. There we go, that's the start list for repechage 2 in the men's singles. Sri Lanka, Russian Paralympic Committee, Great Britain, Spain and the United States. Boats being set and straight on the start line here. See the ripples of the water, that crosswind again coming across the Sea Forest Waterway course. And this little pocket of Tokyo Bay, this urban rowing venue underneath the flight path, as well as planes coming into
Then a green light.
Narita Airport. Now then, in lane 1, Priyamal Jayakody, Sri Lanka's first ever rowing Paralympian, but slowest, I'm afraid, across the heats with a time of 12:16.80.
Lane 2 for
In lane 2, it's Alexei Chivashev of the Russian Paralympic Committee.
Lane 3 for
Ben
Great
Pritchard,
Britain.
the youngest athlete in the field, a former triathlete who wants to get amongst the medals, and there's a big chance of doing exactly that here in Tokyo to
In
boot.
lane 4 for Spain, Javier Reja Munoz.
Rea Munoz of Spain. He goes in lane 4.
And in lane 5 for the United
And Blake
States of
Haxton,
America,
30 years of age.
Haxton.
There are 5 boats on the start line then, wait for the green light. There it is, we're good to go in the PR1 men's single sculls second repechage race. We're looking for the top 2 here who will qualify for the A final. The rest will drop into the B final. It's Sri Lanka in lane 1, Russian Paralympic Committee in lane 2, Great Britain with Pritchard in lane 3, Rhea Munoz of Spain in 4, and in lane 5 from the United States it's Blake Haxton. So Pritchard has gone out quickest, to Chivashev with 2 on the bow. Second at present, just is he there from Rhea Munoz from Spain. Good challenge to Pritchard off the start here, but the Brit, well, he's a contender for a medal here in Tokyo, and he'll want to be in the top 2. But this is a terrific start, great power off the start line from Rhea Munoz of Spain.
Yeah, Rhea Munoz striding into a great pace here, holding him ahead of Benjamin Pritchard from the UK. Both the Spanish sculler and the RPC sculler at the top of the pitch have had small steering issues through this first couple of 100 metres, just moving to the right-hand side of the lane as they see it, and that's to do with this crosswind we're seeing on the course this morning. But both scullers having corrected that, and now we're looking at Benjamin Pritchard. I really just loved watching him off the start there. He moves the boat on very well with the first stroke and then was straight onto the second stroke. It looks like something that's very well drilled for him. And those first 2-3 strokes of the race, he already had an advantage over the rest of the field. So very good technical start from him. And the Spanish sculler, after about 10-12 strokes, just started to edge into the front, and now we see him leading by half a length.
Yeah, terrific this from Rhea Munoz, the former international para-canoeist who competed in the KL2 category at the Rio Games, won bronze at the 2017 ICF World Sprint Championships, only transferred to rowing last year and got the sole qualifying spot for Tokyo at the 2021 European Paralympic qualifying regatta. He's got a lead of 0.81 over Ben Pritchard at the 500 metre mark. Those top 2 beginning to open out a bit of a lead over Chivashev of the Russian Paralympic Committee, and Haxton back in 4th place from the United States, and Jayakody from Sri Lanka bringing up the rear as we may have expected. The challenge now is for Rhea Munoz to hold. No doubt Pritchard will come back at him as they come under the 700 metre bridge. It's still Rhea Munoz.
Rhea Munoz making that transition from canoeing into rowing, and of course the big difference being that rowing you're facing backwards in the boat, but the skills from canoeing, understanding how a boat moves in the water, how the spoon of an oar can pick up that water and how to accelerate it through in order to move the boat, that's transferable from canoeing into rowing. It's a different muscle group used in a different way, but there's a feel for the boat which he will already have developed during his canoeing career, and he's brought that into rowing with such grace and determination in this repechage.
47 years young, Javier Rhea Munoz from Club Nautico de Sevilla there in the south of Spain. We're seeing Pritchard back at him now, but Rhea Munoz, if he can hold and if he has the stamina to stay within the top 2, it'll be a terrific result to get into the A final. But here comes Pritchard now, the sculler from Great Britain, and one of the little narratives, one of the stories coming into these Tokyo Games, another who has high hopes of being competitive and challenging Polyansky, the Ukrainian gold medal favourite in the PR1 men's singles. Pritchard then at the 1,000 metre mark, halfway, 4:33.34. Come past Rhea Munoz, a lead of just inside half a second for the law graduate from the University of Bangor back home in Great Britain. Also competed in able-bodied sailing and cross-country running at junior international level. was a triathlete too at age group level for GB. Competed at the 2013 sprint distance world champs in London. And ever since beginning indoor rowing in 2016 at Stoke Mandeville Hospital, transferring the skills, transferring the energy and desire to push on and be competitive. Once in the boat, he's demonstrated what he can do. Now leads and are set to gain clear water as well over Rhea Munoz in this repechage race in the tussle to qualify these boats into the A final here at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Regatta. So Pritchard with a lead now of up to 10 metres. Chuvashev in third place, then it's Haxton and Jayakodi.
The style from Benjamin Pritchard, he's relentless. It's relentlessly accurate at the front end and relentlessly powerful through the middle of the stroke. I just see such determination coming from this athlete. We're starting to see him pull away now from Rhea Munoz. He's rowed in Twickenham Rowing Club just on the outskirts of London in Great Britain and also in Swansea. And he talks about being able to leave the wheelchair on the bank, get in the boat and just row away from it and finding a sense of freedom from that. And also real determination here we're seeing on this Sea Forest waterway for this Paralympics. 1,500 metres gone, and he now has an advantage over his Spanish rival Rhea Munoz of some 5 seconds.
Pritchard's time in the heats, he was second behind Polyansky, 10:12.24. We're seeing new Paralympic best times being set all over the show here, and no wonder really, with this being the first Paralympic rowing regatta with the boats racing over 2,000 metres. 9:26.1 was Eric Horry's time in the first repechage, so that's the new Paralympic best mark. Coming up to the red buoys in the final 250 metres of this race. Pritchard would love to beat that Polyansky mark. It would be laying down something of a marker as the leading boats start to turn their attentions to the A final 24 hours from now. You can see Rhea Munoz there really digging in, struggling to hold. He went out off the blocks really quickly, the Spaniard. Pritchard eventually able to row through.
Benjamin Pritchard training in this very successful group of Paralympic rowers from Great Britain under the watchful command of Tom Dyson, the chief coach for Paralympic rowing. He's entering the closing stages here. Stroke rate of 37 strokes a minute. Oh, just seeing the sculler there in lane 2. Alexei Chuvashev has crossed the line of buoys. Benjamin Pritchard also just staying clear of those red buoys on his right-hand side.
That crosswind again, isn't it? Continuing to play havoc with the rowers. So 9:26.1 was Horry's time, 9:14. And Pritchard has a new Paralympic best time in the PR1 men's single sculls. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause, mate. Great scull, and he likes that a lot. I'm being harsh on him there. He's applauding Rhea Munoz over the line. A terrific scull there for the Spaniard, who qualifies the Spanish boat into the A final too. Yeah. Now's the time to breathe heavy and just relax and think about the achievement of getting a boat into the Olympic final. Chuvashev next over the line in lane 3, and will be followed by Haxton and Jayakodi. So Pritchard from Great Britain. One of the medal shouts here at the Tokyo Paralympic Rowing Regatta. Sets a new Paralympic best time of 9:14.61 here. And he goes through, as well as the Spaniard Rea Munoz, to join Polianski, Campos Pereira, Hori and Daniel as are the qualifiers for the A final, the gold medal race here in Tokyo in the PR1 men's singles. (9:33.42). Good time as well for Javier Rea Munoz.
And Javier Rea Munoz pushing Alexei Chuvashev into the B final. That's not something I'd thought would happen coming into this regatta. Alexei Chuvashev, the silver medalist from the World Championships in 2019, now sees himself in the B final, so not in with a chance for a medal here at this Paralympics.
And the final finishers, Jayakori there of Sri Lanka. Paddling back to the pontoon now, having done the job. Pritchard, Repechage 2 winner.
So for Benjamin Pritchard, taking the win in this repechage affects his lane draw in the next round. It will give him slightly more favoured lane, closer to the centre than the second place sculler in the repechage. And all these small advantages can add up to make a difference in this sport of para rowing. And Chuvashev there at the top of the picture, silver medalist from the World Champs in 2019, bronze medalist in 2018. Put into the B final by this man, newcomer to the sport, Javier Rea Munoz. Incredible transition, age 47, coming into rowing, picking up this technique, finding his endurance over the 2,000 metre course.
Well, the Union Jack was hardly flying high over the Sea Forest waterway in the Olympic rowing regatta only a few short weeks ago. Maybe Pritchard can deliver a gold here. But indeed, what a performance there from Rea Munoz from Spain. Pritchard and Rea Munoz then from Great Britain and Spain go into the A final in the PR1 men's single sculls. Chuvashev drops into the B final. So, from each of the repechages, the 2 repechages earlier in this session on day 2 of the Paralympic rowing regatta, Great Britain, Australia, Israel and Spain qualify boats to the gold medal race. Into the B final go Klemp, Chivashev, Munoz Malagon, Haxton, Ijoma and Jaya Koddy. Wonderful shot there, looking from the finish line right up to the start. 2 kilometres away, under that 700 bridge, which is about 700 metres down the course from the start line here in Tokyo Bay. PR2 mixed double sculls come into focus now. 2 repechage races. This is the first of them. Again, we're looking for the top 2 boats to qualify for the A final. Remaining crews drop into the B final. Whitley and Rouse from Great Britain, they are the big gold medal favourites and set a Paralympic best time 24 hours ago of 8:42.27. Canada, Australia, Netherlands, Poland and France here are the boats that go in this first repechage. Jesse Brockway and Jeremy Hall of Canada, they go in lane 1 here. Relatively new combination. One of the lowest ranked crews in this event. Simon Albury and Catherine Ross from Australia, they go in lane 2. Ross, one of the select group who've competed at all 4 Paralympic rowing regattas. Van der Meer and de Koning of the Netherlands, they go in lane 3.
Lane 4 for Poland.
Micah and Godowski, 43 and 30 years of age respectively. Micah, another who's been at all of the Paralympic rowing regattas, so big experience in that Polish boat. From France, it's Christophe Levine and Pierre Bouge. Bouge, who's been on the international circuit since 2010. Had a good partnership going with Stéphane Tardieu before the duo was tweaked in 2016. So big challenges likely to British hegemony. That's Anneke van der Meer and Corne de Koning, world champions in 2017 and 2018. European champs in 2020. But there's big power and big experience in that Aussie boat as well. So we're underway then in the first repechage in the PR2 mixed double sculls. The rowers in this category have functional use of their trunk, but are not able to use the sliding seat because of significantly weakened function or mobility of the lower limbs. These are the boats that didn't make it through from the heats. So another chance for these lucky losers in the repechage race. In the third lane there, one of the middle lanes with that distinctive orange canvas on their boat is the Netherlands crew of Van der Meer and de Koning. They're big medal favourites. Can they get close to the Brits? That's the big chance, big challenge here in Tokyo. Lawrence Whitley and Rowan Rouse from Great Britain, they are the big medal favourites. They came through first in their heat, but there's a chance for somebody to be a hero here. Maybe it can be the Dutch. They are leading this first repechage here, Van der Meer and de Koning.
Van der Meer and de Koning had such success on the World Cup circuit the last couple of seasons, and they know what it is to be medalists in World Championship events, World Cup events, European Championships as well. They won the European Championships last year when Whitley and Rolls of Great Britain weren't taking part. This year missing out, Whitley and Rolls taking that title, and the Dutch duo Van der Meer and de Koning picking up the silver medal.
Poland in second place at present. Nice fast start there from the Polish boat, Majka and Gadowski, and up at 500, just 0.62 away from the Netherlands, with Australia next up, 190 down, and then come the French and the Canadians in lane one there, bringing up the rear at 500. So a nice big challenge here coming in from Australia and Poland to the Netherlands. Are we going to see a fight for that second qualifying spot? It's the Dutch, though, who are still out in front. Just Anneke van der Meer, who's 35, Koen de Koning, 4 years junior. De Koning has been racing in this event since 2013, partnered by Esther van der Loos, with whom he finished 5th in each of 2013, 14 and 15, and again at the Rio Paralympics 5 years ago. Van der Meer only graduated from medical school in December 2019. And when the Paralympics were delayed by you-know-what, she took time away from rowing to work at a paediatric oncology hospital.
What's happened here? Sorry to interrupt you, Andy. Poland, the Polish sculler in the stroke seat, I think it was, just caught his blade. It was Mikhail Gadowski just caught his blade on the buoy there, and it really stopped the boat. What an incredible turn of events here. They were right up there alongside the Netherlands, and that boat stopping catch of the buoy line there has taken them way back into third place now.
Well, that's been threatening to happen all regatta, hasn't it, with this crosswind blowing the boats across to that right-hand side of the lane. Finally, we've had a collision, haven't we, with the blade on buoy. But yeah, you can see there the extent of the drop down. Can Poland get back now at the Aussies and try and challenge for second place?
Wow, it's interesting to see how they respond to that kind of event happening in the boat. They're not expecting it. It can really cause an adrenaline rush, and we see them just pick it up, take it back on again, and they've actually managed to move right up here with overlap on Australia already. I think they've taken whatever advantage they can from that mishap, and they're fighting their way back. Of course, 2 qualifying slots here for the A final.
Still the Dutch out in front in the second half of this race now. We're past the 1,000 metre mark. The Australians have been given a real gift here with the issue with the Polish blades. They will want to hold on, Simon Olbury and Catherine Ross. But it's the Netherlands boat at present who are out in front, and Australia still just about holding second here.
So the speed in these boats here, the 2 leading crews, Netherlands and Australia, 14.4 kilometres an hour. The Polish crew, a similar speed. Poland are going to have to work as hard as they can to move back on terms with Australia if they want to get one of those qualifying slots for the A final. A look in here, Koen de Koning in the stroke seat of that Dutch crew. backed up by Anneke van der Meer. Van der Meer really uses that length at the front end of the stroke. She uses her flexibility, her core strength to come right forwards so that she can make the rowing stroke as long as possible, and that gives them this sweeping style. They go over the race course at 32 strokes a minute, moving the boat on so well in this Dutch crew.
Coming up to the three-quarter race mark now, 1,500 metres. And it's still the Netherlands. Australia holding second. It was a great recovery initially, wasn't it, by the Poles, but the Aussies are still holding them off. It's going to have to be a big last 500 here from Poland. They've just upped their stroke rate, though, and it's going to be a terrific finish, I think, here from Maaike and Gadowski. But the Netherlands lead this repechage, 6:07.08 at 1,500 metres. Australia 2:48 back, and the Poles have their sights here on second place. They have Australia in their sights. We see the red buoys just coming into view there. That marks the last 250 metres of this race. Here come Poland. Up to 37, 38 strokes a minute now. Oh, closing in on the Australians' bow with every stroke. And now they have to dig in. Albury there in the bow seat, and Catherine Ross in the stroke, 39 and 40 years of age respectively. Looking good for Anneke van der Meer and Corne de Koning at the top of the order, but Poland have rown through the Aussies. What a brilliant recovery.
What a comeback from Poland. This is fantastic rowing from them. They've just taken the race on. He looks over to his left there, Gadowski in the stroke seat. You can see where he is alongside Australia. Just two boats here to qualify for the A final.
Yeah, the Netherlands are coming up to the line, are leading this repechage. Poland, oh, despite hitting the buoys, they've done it again. They've drifted right. Oh, goodness me, they have to stay in their lane. Have they got enough? I think they have, you know, to hold off the Aussies. Wow, that was so tight. They did it the hard way. But Poland, Jolanta Maaike and Mikael Gadowski have just about held on to beat the Aussies to qualify their boat for the A final. Goodness me.
That's nail-biting stuff from the commentary position here to watch that. They've kept the boat in the lane, and we'll be waiting to see the flag from the umpire. The umpires show a white flag at the end of the race to show that everything's fair and complete in the way that it should be. So we'll see confirmation of that shortly, I hope, to prove that the race result is indeed fair and valid. This crew taking the win, but incredible comeback from Poland after that, catching the buoy earlier in the race.
So Maaike and Gadowski in 8:11.98, coming in second place. Indeed, white flag pending, as you quite rightly said there, Kat. I just wonder, that's been bottled up all the way through this regatta, the crosswinds forcing boats across to the right-hand side of their lane. We've almost had a couple of collisions, and then we get two in the same race from the Polish crew. Well, that's the thumbs up and the victory signal from Jolanta Maaike there, suggesting they've done it. There's a big chance for Albury and Ross, with problems being experienced by their opponents there, but you have to doff your cap to Maaike and Gadowski. Two terrific recoveries, not one but two in that race. So that's Corne de Koning there, and Anneke van der Meer, who join Liu and Chang and Whitley and Rouse, and Micah and Godowski in the A final of the PR2 mixed double sculls here at Tokyo 2020.
A shot there of the big screen that's visible to spectators around the course, confirming that Paralympic best time and the A final spot for Poland ahead of Australia. The Aussies.
Sorry, Kat, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, Andy. I'm just really excited to see that finish there. The Aussies just gave it everything with Poland coming back on them, but they will be racing again in the B final for the Paralympic rankings, places 7 through 12.
So that's a new Paralympic best time. We've absolutely destroyed the time of Whitley and Rouse from 24 hours ago in their heats. But I think we were mentioning at the start of the session, weren't we, a little bit of extra jeopardy in these repechage races. So in the heats, once you get that leading boat that goes out quick and has clear and open water, knows they're going to qualify in first place, as Whitley and Rouse did yesterday, there is the tendency to ease up. But when you've got a real race on, as we had there, 3 boats going for 2 positions, 2 qualifying positions, that raises everybody's speed. They will be racing with Great Britain now in the A final. Will the Netherlands have excelled when Britain weren't there? That was the moment, the first Polish struggles in that repechage.
It's interesting there, it looked like it happened in between the boys, so I don't know whether perhaps Godowski had clipped the buoy on the way forward and then struggled to get the oar square when it came back into the water, because the struggle he had, I thought he'd hit the buoy when the oar was in the water, but it looked as though perhaps he'd hit it during the recovery part of the stroke. So whichever of those situations it was, it did stop the boat completely, and this comeback in the final stages of the race.
Such an interesting point you made there as well about the shot of adrenaline that happens when all of a sudden there's a problem mid-race. You have to adjust and give it something extra. Find that extra power, the overcompensation almost.
Yeah, there's a difficulty with that the adrenaline comes, but then it does go again, and so you can have a sort of a quick burst after the shock of something like that happening, and then find that you're very tired shortly afterwards. But here, this Paralympic repechage, they found what they needed to, these athletes, to take their second place and that qualifying slot for the medal final. So that orange canvas on the Dutch boat, they've also got orange ice vests and orange trainers to go with it.
So Van der Meer and de Koning of the Netherlands and Micah and Godowski of Poland join the boats from China and Great Britain in the A final of the PR2 mixed double sculls.
The legacy plan for this course is to turn it into a park. After the games are finished, the temporary structures will be taken down and the area will be turned into a park for the people of Tokyo to enjoy. I was enjoying some sailing here in the surrounding area. The wind looks a little bit stronger out there than here on the course. It's a bit more sheltered at the Sea Forest Waterway.
So beautiful pictures again from the various cameras dotted around the Sea Forest Waterway course as we look forward to the second repechage race in the PR2 mixed double sculls. Another 5-boat race, and we're going to look for 2 more qualifiers for the A final. Indeed, the last 2 qualifiers for the A final. Last repechage, confirmation there that the Dutch double of Van der Meer and de Koning now holds the best times in the world and the Paralympics. Going in this second repechage, Uzbekistan, Brazil, Ukraine, Italy and the United States. The outsiders from Uzbekistan, Firuza Buribueva, Otabek, Kucherov, 22 and 24 respectively. The youngest crew in this event.
Lane 2 for Brazil.
Lane 2, the Brazilians, Dias de Lima and Gomez Pesania.
Lane 3 for Ukraine.
Boleslavska and Koyuda. They go in lane 3 for Ukraine. Nardo and Mirabile. Watch out for that beard. They go in lane 4. And from the United States in lane 5, it's Laura Goodkind and Russell Gernhardt. Gernhardt at 55 years young. A relatively new pairing. Well, let's see what they can do. We're good to go then in the PR2 mixed double sculls second repechage race. 5 boats in this race. The top 2 will make the A final. In lane 1, it's Uzbekistan, Buribueva and Kuchkarov. In lane 2, it's Dias de Lima and Gomez of Brazil. In lane 3, Boleslavska and Koyuda from Ukraine. In lane 4 from Italy, Nardo and Mirabile. In lane 5 from the United States, Goodkind and Gernhardt. Nice flat start here as we see the drone rise over the course. Gives us a better idea of who's made the strongest start. Looks to be the Brazilians in lane 2, Dias de Lima and Gomez.
So this drone shot gives us a good view of the boats following the race. The boat on the right-hand side is the umpire's boat, so the umpire there will be following the race to make sure everything is fair and correct. And the other larger boat that we saw to the left-hand side is one of the camera catamarans, bringing these wonderful shots from Sea Forest Waterway.
Yeah, Brazil pushing out to a 3/4 boat length lead there over, well, the crews in lanes 3 and 1, Ukraine and Uzbekistan. Italy are coming up strong as well. Nardo in the bow seat there, Mirabile in the stroke seat, but it's the Brazilians pushing out now. Josiane Dias de Lima in that Brazilian boat, one of only 6 rowers for whom Tokyo will be their 4th Paralympics, 100% Paralympic rower, if you will. And they're all set fair, built up a nice lead here. Dias de Lima, who's 46, and Michelle Gomez Pisagna, who's 42 at the 500 mark. Seems to be Italy just from Ukraine. 1:52 there is the gap between Brazil and Italy, and at 0.25 of a second, that lead that the Italians have over the Ukrainians.
Michelle Gomez Pisagna in the stroke seat of this boat. This pairing, they've been together since the 2014 season, so experience of rowing together. They know how to move the boat well as a unit. That first season picking up a bronze medal at the World Championships in the mixed doubles event. Back then it was called the trunks and arms mixed double, now the PR2 mixed double. They're still holding on to that advantage. Italy and Ukraine, it's very close here for second place.
Yeah, really strong off the start from Josiane Dias de Lima and Michelle Gomez Pisagna. Brazil, one of the nations who've qualified boats in all classes here at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. There are 4 medal events: PR1 men's and women's singles, PR2 mixed double sculls, PR3 mixed coxed fours. That's coming up next, as we're riding now with the second place duo from Ukraine, Svetlana Borislavska and Yaroslav Koyuda, a pair of 33-year-olds. Koyuda, who's been racing on the para rowing circuit since 2013. Initially the mixed 4, they've come past the Italians, who had a very strong first 500 there, but Ukraine have rowed through them.
This duo from Ukraine was silver medalists at the European Championships last year, and then this season finishing in a 6th place, and we're used to seeing them right up in those podium places, so 6th place seemed to indicate perhaps a bit of loss of form earlier in the season, but it looks as though they're rowing back to their normal high standards here in this repechage.
Yeah, it's still Brazil out in front, and just Ukraine from Italy. That's going to be the battle, or so it seems, for the second qualifying place for the gold medal race. Ukraine have it just at present. The Ukrainians and the Italians rowing at 38 strokes a minute, almost identical boat speeds as well, 14.4 kilometres an hour, 14 kilometres an hour. They've just upped it a bit, actually, Ukraine, and have got a bit of extra water in between themselves and the Italians. Who knows, maybe the Ukrainians can get up at the bow of the Brazilians as well. So it's these 3 boats you're looking at, but 3 into 2 doesn't go. One of these will be disappointed and will not make the A final, dropping instead into the B final, and Ukraine going well at present. Brazil trying to hold Dias de Lima and Gomez.
As that bow of the number 3 lane, Ukraine comes ahead of Brazil here. They made that move just about 1,250 metres into the race. We're 1450 gone now, approaching this 1,500 metre timing point, and it's been a fantastic 250 metres for Ukraine. They made that move, they pushed on, and it's given them the lead now ahead of Brazil.
Well, have Brazil peaked too early in this race? Ukraine have come through, and Brazil, having led from the starting blocks, are now in danger of missing out on a place in the A final altogether, as the Italians up their stroke rate as well, Nardo and Mirabile. But Ukraine have planned this to perfection. It's Brazil still able to hold second place just from Italy, but Ukraine have come through. Terrific race strategy here from Svetlana Boguslavska there in the bow seat, Yaroslav Koyuda in the stroke.
It's an aggressive technique from this Ukrainian crew. They really take it on very hard at the front end of the stroke, accelerating it through.
Koyuda had his established partnership with Irina Kirichenko before forming this new partnership with Boguslavska in 2018, just in time to make the podium at the World Champs. Just missed out on repeating that in Linz in 2019, but the Brazilians have faded out of the top two now. It looks to be Nardo and Mirabile coming through into second place as we row through the red buoys that mark the last 250 metres of this race. Brazil went out too early and too quickly, and I think they're fading and will drop into the B final. It's going to be Ukraine and Italy here, 1 and 2 in this second repechage in the PR2 mixed double.
The Italian rowers really know how to sprint. We see this across all their events. They've taken their sprint on now up to 40 strokes a minute, holding on to that second place with 2 to qualify for the A final.
So it's Ukraine and Italy, and Brazil are edged out of it at the last, having led from the start in the top 2 positions until 1500. But I'm afraid they were outthought and outfought by the Ukraine and the Italians. Brazil drop into the B final, and it's Ukraine and it's Italy who join Great Britain, China, Netherlands and Poland in the gold medal final, the A final in the PR2 mixed double. Oh, well, they're spent, and they know they got that a little bit wrong in terms of race strategy, the Brazilians. Moments of pain at the end, but it's all paid off for Koyuda there. And that beard will be in the A final.
Yeah, it definitely deserves a place in the A final, that beard.
It does. I just wonder if they get a medal, the Italians, whether there'll be a couple of beads on the bottom bit in whatever colour. Let's hope so.
That would be nice to see.
It would. Terrific race, that. Second repechage in the PR2 mixed double. B final for Brazil. There won't be another shot at a medal for Lima. There with Elton Santana, won the bronze in Beijing. Ukraine have never won a Paralympic medal in this class, the mixed double. Will this pairing buck that trend here in Tokyo? Yaroslav Koyuda there, and behind him Svetlana Boguslavska.
And the Brazilians will be in the B final for places 7 to 12, finding themselves lined up against France, another very well-established crew who haven't made the medal final here in Tokyo. It's a real quality field here in this PR2 mixed double sculls.
Svetlana Boleslavska and Yaroslav Koyuda there, confirmed winners of the second repechage in the PR2 mixed doubles in a time of 8:17.99. 7 seconds outside the Paralympic best time set in that previous repechage race by the Netherlands. And the Italians there. Great sprint finish by them to outlast the Brazilians, go through in second place. It was Brazil who went out quickly, determined to hit the front and lead from the front. But I'm afraid they got that wrong, didn't they?
The Brazilians perhaps suffering over this new distance, this 2 kilometre distance that we're seeing in this Paralympic cycle. In the Rio Games, it was only 1,000 metres for the Paralympic PR2 double sculls, and that's been doubled during this last Paralympic cycle. Little handshake of congratulations there in the boat from Ukraine.
Ukraine and Italy then into the A final in the PR2 mixed double. Brazil, United States and Uzbekistan, they drop into the B final. So there will be a chance there to win a race before this Tokyo Paralympic rowing regatta is done and dusted. Positions 7 to 12 to fight for now for the B finalists here in Tokyo. So joining the Great Britain, Whitley and Rouse and China, Liu and Zhang, the heat winners in the A final from the repechage in the PR2 mixed double, Netherlands, Poland, Ukraine and Italy. And that's the lineup, the boats at least, before lanes are drawn in the B final in the PR2 mixed doubles. Australia, Brazil, USA, France, Uzbekistan and Canada. We're back at the start line then for the last boat class out on the water on this second day's racing at the Tokyo Paralympic Rowing Regatta, the PR3 Mixed Coxed Fours. Again, 2 more repechage races, and we're looking for the top 2 boats in each to join the heat winners in the A final. Great Britain, the dominant boat in this category, world best time set 2019 in Linz, Paralympic best time set 24 hours ago. That was 7:09:44. Repechage 1 then, Spain, Canada, Australia, Italy and Brazil. In lane 1 for Spain, Guzman, Matabuena, Milan, Pulido, coxed by Maria Zubillaga. Raced at the final Paralympic qualifying regatta in June and qualified the boat for Tokyo. They were as surprised as anyone when that happened. New crew, Hooper, Todd, Nolan, Fredrickson. Court is the cox from Canada, reigning Paralympic bronze medalists, but still had to qualify via the final qualifying regatta at Gavirate. Australia in lane 3, Viney, Ayres, Birtwistle, Talbot, Domashens is the cox. Made 2 changes to the crew that finished 4th at the Worlds in Linz. Italy in lane 4, Scazzozzi, Brancato, Bernard Muti and Lorena Fuina is the coxswain.
And lane 5 for Brazil, Ana Paula Madruga de Souza.
From Brazil, de Souza, Barcelos, Junior, Frolic Klug, Juscelino da Silva is the cox. They were all set to go then in the PR3 Mixed Coxed Fours boat category. We see here rowers with a verifiable and permanent disability who have functional use of their legs, trunk and arms for rowing, and who can utilise the sliding seat to propel the boat. This class may include up to 2 rowers with visual impairments. No restriction on the coxswain in these 4 boats in terms of impairment, gender or age. We're underway then. Spain in lane 1, Canada in 2, Australia in 3, Italy in 4, Brazil in lane 5. Great Britain are the crew to beat, but they're already through, so a chance with the power. And there's more variables here in the 4 boats, but there's more power and more energy too. And we've seen some real speed off the start, most notably there from the Italians in lane 4.
Yeah, this Italian crew are quite a force to be reckoned with. In the stroke seat there, Greta Muti sets up this rhythm so well for them, and it was this kind of start we saw back in the Poznan course at the European Championships last year when they took that title. They brought home the gold medal at European level. We know they've got speed in them, and they're taking this on very hard in the early stages for one of these 2 places in the A final.
I think you mentioned it on the first day of racing as well, Kat, the noise in this. And of course, because we don't have spectators inside the Sea Forest Waterway course, everything that happens out there is, I suppose, amplified. You don't get crowd noise sort of contributing to the ambience here, so you can hear every roar and every cry and every shout of encouragement. Great start by the Italians. They lead here through the first 500 metres of this repechage in the PR3 Mixed Cox Fours. We hit the 500 metre mark, and it is Italy 1:42.75, but just 0.70 ahead of the Aussies, then Brazil, and then come Canada. We're looking for the top 2 boats only to qualify for the gold medal race, the A final here on the course in Tokyo.
The Italian cox there, Lorena Fuina, just looking over to her right-hand side. She can see the bows of the Australian boat, that green hull, making its way up alongside her. She wanted to see what the margin was as she's coming under the bridge there. She can see she's at the front of the race and that the Aussies aren't too far behind at this stage.
Still Italy from the Australians with 3 on the bow. Italians, a new crew put together for the 2019 para rowing season. Picked up the bronze in the World Champs. And Lorenzo Bernard, the 24-year-old, in the 3-seat. He's a successful para skier as well, who wants to compete in the winter paras when they come around next time in Beijing. It's only 6 months or so away now. Partially blinded in 2013 when an unexploded World War II mine exploded in a field he was in. Scazzozzi, Brancato and Muti are the other rowers in the boat, with Lorena Fuina, the 37-year-old cox for Italy, still holding off the Australians at the midway point. 0.69 is the gap, hitting 1,000 metres at 3:29.75.
Canada just easing ahead of Brazil here through that halfway mark into 3rd place. They've got a couple of lengths to make up on Australia if they want to fight for one of these medal final qualifying slots, with 2 returning bronze medalists from that crew who took the 3rd spot back in the Paralympics in Rio. Andrew Todd in the 2-seat, Victoria Nolan in the bows. That Canadian crew has experience on board, but they're some 5 seconds behind the Australian crew at the top of the picture there.
Australia still holding on to 2nd place, going really well actually, the Aussies in this repechage race, but it's still Italy at 36 strokes a minute, just ahead of the Australians. But it's the Aussies who have superior boat speed out on the water at present, along with the Canadians, who want to get up alongside at the top 2, but they need a big finish now to the Canadians. 16.6 kilometres an hour, the Aussies. Italy just upping it now at the 1,300 metre mark. 36 strokes a minute for Italy. Canada have picked it up at the top of your picture, but as we hit the 3/4 race mark, it's going to be still Italy just from the Australians. So barring a catastrophe, that's the 1 and 2. That's the top 2 boats who will be going through, progressing to the A final. And Canada coming under threat from the Brazilians down in lane 5 for 3rd place. Still Italy.
What a great view there in at the cox in the Italian boat. Fierce calls coming from her to encourage the athletes, communicating the rhythm, keeping them in time, keeping them on check with their race plan as they progress down the course.
Italy digging in. Australia pushing on as well. We hit those red buoys the last 250 metres of the race.
She's got 2 computers on board there, the Italian coxswain, showing the stroke rate, the speed in the water. But right now she knows the all-important thing is that bow ball of the Australian boat alongside her, and the Aussies are starting to move up in the closing stages. What a sprint from Australia.
Yeah, what a finish indeed here from the Aussies. They've come through the Italians. Of course, it is just about finishing in the top 2 positions, but just the little marker being laid down here by the Australian mixed four. They have timed their sprint to absolute perfection. And the crew from down under are over the line first in this first repechage. Oh, Italy led for the whole way until the very end. They qualify, of course, but just need a little bit of adjustment to the tactics, and we'll try and work out what went exactly wrong. But that was a fabulous finish from Viney, Ayers, Birtwistle, Talbot and the Cox René Domachens. Super win. Italy go through as well. But that little boost and the sprint finish coming off here for the Australians, that will do the morale, the power of good. Yes, they've qualified, but they've done it in pretty exceptional circumstances there with a brilliant finish.
It was a really nice move from the Australians, and great for them to be able to see their speed develop through this regatta. They're a new lineup from the crew that qualified at the World Championships back in 2019. They've got Thomas Birtwistle coming into the boat, and Nikki Ayers as well. So new lineup for Australia, and they're moving very well together. It was a really solid move in those closing stages.
7:06.98, that's a new Paralympic best time as well, set by Australia. The winners of the first repechage here. It's the PR3 mixed Cox 4 boat class. So we have 4 qualifiers now for the A final. Australia and Italy from this repechage, joining Great Britain and the United States. So we'll look forward to the second repechage race, the last race on the programme on this second morning of para rowing at Tokyo 2020, to see who will complete the lineup in the A final in the PR3 mixed Cox 4s.
Italy just beaten to the line by Australia. Taking that second place in the repechage means they'll be drawn in an outside lane in the medal final. Australia taking the win, meaning they'll be drawn in a more central lane. Already with the masks on before they hit the landing stage. Lots of precautions for the athletes, for the volunteers, for the organisers in terms of COVID protection here at this regatta.
So a recap then on this first repechage in the PR3 mixed Cox 4s. Some lovely shots there across the Tokyo Sea Forest waterway, and honing in there on the Italians, who got out quickly, and it was a right old ding-dong battle between them and the Aussies. But Australia just picked up in those last 250 metres, came to the line first for a pretty stunning win, I would say, in the outsiders category in this boat class at Tokyo, but with a real warning shot to the rest of the crews with that sprint finish and the power.
Okay, hands on. And flick. Put the stress up. Wow! Use your words. Where the Aussie bucket is from, to the right. Yep.
The Australians carrying their boat back towards the boathouse. They'll put it down on these metal racks called trestles. Normally the boat would get a bit of a clean and checking the adjustment before it gets put away into the boathouse. So it's salt water here on the Sea Forest waterway. So they'll want to use the hose to get that salty water off the boat shell. Make sure it's nice and clean. That line of bubbles we see on the finish line is a hose that runs right along the stretch of the finish to give us an idea for the line of sight of the finish. But of course the umpires use a very sophisticated timing system that's independent to that bubble line, but it's very good for our position as commentators and for spectators for you to be able to see the athlete's bow ball, the bow ball of the boat crossing the finish line. The Spanish crew coming into the landing stage. Spain having 2 boats to take part here in Tokyo. An improvement on their situation for Rio, where they didn't qualify any athletes for the Games.
Australia and Italy moving into the A final then in the mixed coxed fours. 7:06.98. Thanks to that sprint finish, that spectacular sprint finish from the Aussies. That's a new Paralympic best time in this boat class over 2,000 metres. And we pan across the course, 4-lane highway, running parallel to the racecourse here at the Sea Forest waterway. All the way up to the start line there as the wind blows across. Getting up to the hottest part of the day as well in Tokyo, about 10 to midday local time on the water. Last race of the day. Second repechage in the PR3 mixed coxed fours boat category.
The starting gates have just risen up out of the water to let the coxes guide the bows of the boats into those small plastic gates that hold them in place until the green light goes and they are released underwater, allowing the boat shells to move away from the start.
In the race here are boats from Japan, the Russian Paralympic Committee, France, Israel and Ukraine. In lane one then, it's the local crew from Japan who come into their home Paralympics as one of the lower ranked crews in the event, 14th at the 2019 Worlds. Yao, Kimura, Noshioka, Ariyasu, coxed by Tatsuta.
Lane 2 for RPC.
In lane 2, it's the Russian Paralympic Committee. Piskunova, Moshkovskaya, Voronov, Borisov and Terekov is the coxswain. Three of the crew finished 5th at the 2019 Worlds. France in lane 3, Sozo, Giselle, Taranto, Boulet, coxed by Robin Le Barreau. Also 3 of the crew that finished 8th 5 years ago on the lagoon in Rio. Israel go in lane 4, Feinblatt, Stuck, Hazor, Klein. Marlena Miller is the cox, 6th in Linz in 2019. And as far as the Ukrainians are concerned, Polyanska, Kotaik, Samolyuk, Zhuk, Yulia Malasai, 8th at the 2019 Worlds, securing the final qualifying spot for Tokyo. Red to green and off we go in the final repechage in the PR3 mixed cox 4. We're looking for the top 2 boats here to go into the A final in this event class, this boat class, and join United States, Great Britain, Australia and Italy, who are already through and already looking forward, those 4 crews, to a shot at the gold medal here at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. Paralympic Games. Japan in lane 1, RPC, the Russian Paralympic Committee, in lane 2. In lane 3 it's France, in lane 4 it's Israel, in lane 5 it's Ukraine. And Israel have made a decent start with the French inside them, and Ukraine as well on the left of your shot in those distinctive yellow and blue vests have made it a very good start as well.
Just on the right of the shot there is the home crew from Japan. They're coming into this with a world ranking of 14th, and they're going to leave with a higher Paralympic ranking than that. If they are in the B final, then their ranking will be somewhere between 7th and 12th. And with a 17-year-old athlete on board, Kimura Yui in the 2 seat. Fantastic to see the Japanese competing here on home water in this event. But here up at the front of the race, France leading the way.
Yeah, 3 of the crew in the French boat that finished 8th at the Rio Paralympics. Giselle and Taranto also in this boat class at Eton Dorney 9 years ago, and have been racing together for over a decade now. Highlight of their para-rowing careers came in 2018 when they won bronze in the mixed 4 at the World Champs. 7th in 2019, and the French secured the last but one direct qualifying spot for this Tokyo regatta. Ukraine as well with 5 on their bow, just have the edge on the crew from lane 4. That's the Israelis. France lead the way here in this second repechage in the PR3 mixed coxed 4. So just a reminder, this is the boat class involving rowers with a verifiable and permanent disability who have functional use of their legs, trunk and arms, and who can utilise the sliding seat to propel the boat. And it's a class that may include up to 2 rowers with visual impairment. No restriction on the coxswain of the 4 in this class in terms of gender, age or impairment. Ukraine are in second place, so as it stands now are set fair to qualify their boat directly for the A final, and crucially when you're in that you have a shot at the medals. Our remaining crews go into the B final and will challenge for places 7 to 12 in this Tokyo Paralympic rowing regatta.
The coxswain in the Ukraine boat, Yulia Malasai, urging her crew on. She's been looking around to her right to see how far ahead they are from the Israeli crew just behind them.
So at the mid-race points, it's the French. They've hit that mark in 3 minutes 30, almost a 3:31. Ukraine 1.94 back. There's a bit of a gap that's opened up there down to the Israelis. 3.73 is the gap between Ukraine and Israel. So France and Ukraine at the head of the field here are set to go through to the A final. Then come the RPC and Japan in places 4 and 5 respectively at present.
It's a really nice rhythm in the French boat, set up by Margot Boulet, the 31-year-old in the stroke seat. Very smooth, very precise rowing from them.
Yeah, the big question now is, can the Israelis get at the Ukrainians and try and have a challenge, try and fight for the second qualifying spot? It's the French away with clear open water between themselves and the rest of the field now. Sozo, Jezel, Taranto, the 3 39-year-olds, Boulet at 31, Robin Le Barreau, the 28-year-old Cox. Crew raced at the 2020 Euros with Guilain Marchand at the bow seat, picking up the bronze medal. And then for the 2021 Euros, Sozo came in and they upped it to silver, 13 seconds behind the British, who remain the favourites for this event. And the United States will be strong as well, 5:17.76 at 1,500 metres, so 500 metres to go in this race. And the Ukraine are in second place at present, but the Israelis going really well and trying to launch a sprint finish and get themselves into the A final at the expense of the Ukrainians.
Israel really pushing on now. France, the leaders, can feel pretty confident at this point with that clear water ahead of them. They're just in their process, doing what they're doing as they approach this red buoy zone. Here come Israel, the bow ball just moving ahead of Ukraine.
Yeah, it's Israel, isn't it, from Ukraine. This is going to be a terrific sprint finish from both of these boats to try and get that final qualifying spot. Oh, Israel going through the gears now, they've upped it.
Israel taking it up to 39 strokes a minute, 40 strokes a minute. They're really pushing on now, just 200 metres left. It's about 20 strokes of this race. Crew from Ukraine have responded. They're at 38 strokes a minute, but Israel are holding them to half a length.
Fabulous race strategy here from the Israelis. They've taken Ukraine here, and look at the speed from this mixed Israeli 4. Absolutely superb. Fabulous work from the coxswain as well. So France through as winners of this repechage, the second repechage in the PR3, mixed coxed 4, and not much of an advantage in the final shake-up over the Israelis. Ukraine had nothing when it came down to it. It's France who go through. Brilliant finish from the Israelis. And have they set a new Paralympic best time as well? 7:06.98 was that Australian mark. 7:06 something the French have crossed the line at. And there is just dejection for the Ukrainians. That was terrific speed at the line there from the Israelis.
It was a really nice move from the Israelis. They took the rate up, they didn't shorten the stroke length, and the boat just flew away from the crew from Ukraine. Fantastic closing stages from them. I mean, it's a testament to their fitness and to the drills they've done to be able to produce that kind of sprint at the end of the 2,000-metre course.
Yeah, it is a new Paralympic best time as well for the French. Have taken nearly a second off that Australian mark. Australia, who set the best time in that previous repechage race. But just a reminder again that this is the first Paralympic rowing regatta which is being raced over 2,000 metres. So not a surprise to see a lot of PBs, Paralympic best times, being set. Israel, yeah, they timed it to perfection, and you can almost sense the dejection, the disappointment amongst the Ukrainians. It will be the B final for them, and it had looked like the A final for so long.
Yeah, they'd looked really strong through the middle section of that race. On board in the Ukrainian boat in the bow seat, it's Alexandra Polyanska. She's married to Roman Polyansky, the single sculler with the world best time, reigning Paralympic champion in the PR1 men's single sculls. And she'll be contesting again in the B final with the opportunity for positions 7 to 12 in the Paralympic rankings. The French crew have come in, they've taken some water on board, taken those cold towels. It looks like they're going back out again for a warm down row. There's a small lagoon just to the left-hand side of the lake as we're facing it at the moment, where the rowers can warm up and warm down. Heartbreak from this crew. They won't be able to contest the medals.
Yeah. The Ukrainian mixed coxed 4 boat won the bronze in London, but I'm afraid there will be no medal this time round for the Ukrainian crew. Really looking forward to this final, actually, in the PR3 in the mixed 4. There's a lot of power in there, isn't there? And we've seen some big challenges being thrown down to the usual suspects, I suppose you might call them, the Americans and the Brits, by the Australians and by the French here. And the Italians with that fabulous finish. Likewise, the Israelis as well in the repechage races we saw. But France were in control here of that second repechage.
It's interesting for these crews who have to come through the repechage. Yes, they have to race again. It means that they've spent a bit more energy during the regatta, doing 3 2,000-metre races instead of just 2. That is for the situation for the direct qualifiers to the A final. But sometimes that extra race can give an advantage in terms of psychology, in terms of confidence, in terms of bringing the crew together on this particular 2,000-metre course with the conditions as they are. So it's debatable whether the crews will see it as a disadvantage to take this race, and France have certainly moved on very well to take this qualifying slot in first place for the A final.
Yeah, France and Israel join the United States, Great Britain, Australia and Italy then in the gold medal race in the PR3 mixed cox 4. That concludes another thrilling morning's racing on the Sea Forest Waterway course in Tokyo. Erica Sozo, Antoine Gesel, Remy Taranto, Margot Boulet, and the cox there, Robin Le Barreau, with a really strong showing in that repechage race. There's some nice moments being captured down there on the pontoon.
It looks like the whole Israeli delegation are down there to congratulate them. They're very happy with that result.
Yeah, a bit of productive morning for the Israelis. Moran Samuel getting through in the women's after her disappointment on day one. She's put that behind her now. And we saw Shmuel Daniel as well going through, didn't we, in the men's singles behind Eric Horry. So really good stuff by Israel here on day 2 of the para rowing regatta at Tokyo 2020.
And that's the French crew just on that little lagoon beyond the racing lake where they can do their cool down after the race.
France winning repechage 2 in the PR3 mixed cox 4s in a new Paralympic best time of 7 minutes 6.02 seconds ahead of Israel, who caught Ukraine over the last 250 meters, relegating Ukraine into the B final, along with Russian Paralympic Committee and the home mixed cox 4 from Japan. So France, Australia, Italy and Israel, the repechage qualifiers to the A final in the PR3 mixed cox 4s. Into the B final go Ukraine, Brazil, Canada, RPC, Spain and Japan. So that concludes the racing on day 2 of the para rowing regatta. 2/3 of the way through the programme now. I'm really looking forward to day 3. It's all about the finals, the gold medal races and the B finals in each of our boat classes. The PR1 men's and women's singles, PR2 mixed doubles and the PR3 mixed cox 4s. Some fantastic racing out on the water in Tokyo Bay here at the Sea Forest Waterway. Finals day is set up perfectly. So an absolutely fantastic day's racing on another hot day at the Sea Forest Waterway at Tokyo 2020. A lot of jeopardy there with the final qualifying berths in the A finals being booked in each of our boat classes. So 24 hours from now, it'll be about the A finals and the B finals. The crews will be going for gold, and we're really looking forward to that. But a fantastic morning in Tokyo Bay again. Time to take a breather and prepare for the A finals here at the Paralympic Rowing Regatta. From Kat Holloway and myself, Andy Bodfish, thanks very much for your company. We'll see you again in 24 hours' time for the finals. Bye-bye.